Thanks for listening to PoliticalStorm.com. I'm John Small, and I've got a special guest joining me today. We have Jordan Goodman, America's Money Answers Man, and we visit with Jordan on our radio program all the time, like once a month, and we're going to say hello to him now. How are you, Jordan?
Great to be with you, John.
Great to be with you as well, and I love the fact that you visit with us on our radio program each month, and when we were done with our program for this month, I said, hey, would you talk to me on our podcast here, because the radio show, we don't really talk a lot about politics. We're talking about other things, but with this election, the politics have also a lot to do with the economy and with people's investments and all of the different things that are entailed in that. So I wanted to kind of get your perspective. If there was, President Hillary Clinton, what do things look like in the future? And if there's President Donald Trump, how different do things look? So with your perspective on that, I think it would be a lot more valuable than my perspective.
Extremely different worlds, both of them. Now, I'm assuming that they're going to get a Congress that they can get things done. Now, that may not be a good assumption, but let's for the moment say that Hillary wins and has a Democratic Congress to put her agenda in place. Trump wins and get a Republican Congress, because otherwise you just get gridlock and nothing happens either direction. Okay,
Yeah.
So for the point of argument, let's just say that they get to implement the agenda they're talking about. Will you go along with me on that?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So let's talk about Hillary first. So basically, it would be a continuation of Obama as far as she wants to raise taxes on these evil rich people and evil corporations that she thinks are not paying so-called their fair share. Well, they're already paying, the top 5% are paying about 50% of the taxes, so I think they're paying plenty, actually.
Yeah.
But she wants to raise taxes. She wants to get rid of the capital gains rate, so you would pay the regular income rate, which is high as about 40% today, on all capital gains as well as income, which would really hurt the stock market sharply because it would make people want to invest less. And the same thing, she wants to punish corporations who aren't paying enough in taxes, and if they leave the country, she wants to have an exit tax. Basically be punitive with companies. That's basically her idea. Well, that's not the way you attract investment, okay?
No.
I would say you get more with honey than vinegar, okay? And by punishing people, you get less is what happens. But on the tax front, she definitely wants to raise taxes, and she considers rich people $250,000 and up. That sounds like a lot of money, but there's a lot of people, dual-income couples earning $250,000 that don't think they're rich at all, okay?
Well, and when you put that into perspective, if it's a small business owner that maybe they're making $250,000, but when you look at all of the liabilities that they have and all of the expenses they have and all of the people that they're trying to employ and all of the things that come with that, I can tell you that's not somebody that feels rich.
In Hillary's world, those are rich people, okay? And they should be punished as much as possible for making so much money and redistribute it through the government to the average working guy. That's her point of view. So that's on the tax front. Trump has the exact opposite view on taxes. He wants to cut taxes on businesses we just talked about to 15% on all business income. Now, a lot of businesses are organized as subchapter S corporations where things flow through to you as individuals. So people pay individual tax rates on their business income, which today can be about 40%. He wants to cut that to 15%. That would be a huge boon to businesses that would get to keep a lot more of their money, have more profits, be able to reinvest in their business, hire more people. All the jobs in this economy, John, are coming from small and medium-sized businesses.
Yeah.
And those are the ones who would benefit the most by a tax rate cut like that. Completely opposite views on taxes.
Now, that's right there. When you look at that, when you've got a guy saying, I want to make America great again, I think that ties right into what he's saying, because there are businesses in this country that would love to expand. They just can't afford to. So if they had a little more money, they could expand and hire more people. If they got to keep more of their money, we should say, it's not about having more money. They have it. If they got to keep more of their money, they could reinvest that by adding more people, by adding more locations, by adding more product lines for people to purchase. But, when you've got very little margin left after paying this giant tax bill, it makes it hard to grow a business, doesn't it?
Right. Well, they always say that profits are the mother's milk of capitalism, okay? Profits are not a bad thing. Profits is what drives growth and jobs and new stuff, new buildings being built and so on. And, Hillary has this view that profits are bad and should be punished and taxed as much as possible. So that's one big difference between them. Another big difference is regulatory. Okay? So Hillary would basically amp up the regulatory burden we've already had across the board. Environmental regulation, she basically wants to wipe out the coal industry and a whole bunch of other oil industries and so on. Labor, she wants to have a higher minimum wage, maybe $15 minimum wage, and other kinds of labor regulations. In the financial industry, there's something called the fiduciary rule, which is going to make it very difficult for financial advisors to make a living unless they're dealing only with multimillionaire types. She wants to amp that up. I could go across a whole series of areas. She wants to increase regulation, every way possible. Trump wants the exact opposite. He wants to deregulate, cut the size of government, free up business from doing all these kind of things. And he talks about repealing and replacing Obamacare and Dodd-Frank. I'm not sure that's possible, but that's the direction he wants to go. That would free up the economy to have a lot more growth. Okay, so completely opposite views on regulation.
So right now, when you watch the media like I do, and you see these polls where they're saying that it's close, does that confuse you? It confuses me.
Well, it is close, and I frankly think a lot of people are not telling the pollsters what they're really going to do.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of closet Trump voters, frankly. Yeah. They don't want to admit it. It's not politically correct to say that. So they may be saying Clinton or they may say undecided. But when they actually get in the voting booth, they're only going to have two choices, one or the other. Now, I may be wrong about this, but one sign of this is what happened in Britain. Okay, the day before they had the Brexit vote, the bookies were 90% stay, 10% leave. Those were the odds.
Wow.
And it turned out that it was 52% to leave, 48% to stay.
So they were way off.
A lot of people didn't want to admit to the pollsters that they were going to vote leave. When they actually got the polls, they did it. So I may be wrong, but I'm getting a sense that may be happening with Trump as well.
And with the pollsters, I don't have to tell them the truth. I don't have to. When they're calling me, it's not like I'm under oath. They're calling and asking for my opinion, and I can say, you know what, I don't want to tell you my opinion, but I'll tell you what I want to tell you.
Exactly.
Here's something I've heard before, and maybe you've heard the phrase before, that we vote with our wallets.
Right.
If there's a business that you don't like, they can be put out of business by people just stop going there.
Correct.
And something that's really interesting to me, Cafe Press is a company that sells T-shirts. And I'm reading a story here that says anti-Hillary merchandise outsells anti-Trump gear by over 814%.
Yes.
That's a big
you look
percentage.
At the rallies, and Trump has an awful lot more enthusiasm, so his people are going to show up, I think, and vote. Now, Hillary, all the people who voted for Bernie Sanders, for example, I think a lot of them are not going to show up and vote for Hillary. They just can't stand it. And that's a big part. I mean, he won quite a few states, and the states he didn't win, he was getting like 48%, So there's a lot of Bernie disaffected people. Maybe they'll vote for Gary Johnson or something. I don't know. Yeah. But she doesn't, I guess you'd call it an enthusiasm gap. And Trump, and it's because people feel that Washington is not working the way it is right now, and they want to shake things up. So we'll see. That's a bit of my prediction, is that people are not admitting to the pollsters what they're actually going to do. But the only vote that actually counts is the one they make when they actually do the ballots in November.
Well, Jordan, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with me on this platform as well.
Very good. Always glad to help, John.
And always enjoy visiting with you on the radio. And like I said, on the radio, we don't talk about politics hardly ever. It's always about other things. But I thought, well, I had you on the line if you were willing to do it, and I'm glad that you were. Thank you for chatting with me about this today.
Very good. Thank you, John.
Again, Jordan Goodman right there. And if you'd like to learn more about Jordan Goodman, his website is moneyanswers.com. Again, Jordan Goodman, America's Money Answers Man, and he's got several books out. Very smart guy. We talk to him on our radio program every month, and if you just listened, you know why. A wealth of knowledge. Very, very smart guy. Thank you so much for listening to PoliticalStorm.com. I'm John Small.